This episode of Crappie USA TV is brought to you by Cornfield Crappie Gear. Visit them at cornfieldcrappiegear.com. Cherokee Lake has 400 miles of scenic shoreline that surrounds the reservoir's 28,000 acres of water and is enjoyed by folks from all across Tennessee. The expansive Native American trading path known as the Seneca Trail lies in the basin of Cherokee Lake. 2020's Crappie USA Tournament Trail has come to a close, and today we have come to Morristown, Tennessee to spotlight our points division champions, Scott Bunch and Neal Alvis. We found these hard-working fishermen on Cherokee Lake right in their own backyard. Scott and Neal grew up fishing on this lake. They talk about their championship season, their angling techniques, and why they love crappie fishing most of all. These two even caught a few slabs while we were out. So sit back and enjoy this installment of Crappie USA.
I'm Scott Bunch from here in Morristown, Tennessee. Home lake's Cherokee Lake.
Neal Alvis, Rogersville, Tennessee. We were the 2020 Crappie USA Bass Pro Cabela's National Points Champion. To share a little bit about us, we have strong Christian values, family values, we have a strong work ethic, and we have a passion for competitively crappie fishing. We have for several years. We really enjoy our hobby, if you will.
I work at a furniture manufacturer. We do dimension type parts like sofa feet, table legs, tabletops for different other manufacturers that does the finished product.
I personally am a machinist. We produce pistons for large bore Caterpillar, Cummins, Ford, you name it. I've been doing it for right around 25 years. When we first realized we had won the National Points Champion, it was a huge accomplishment for us. You know, we'd been watching it all year. We had set our sights on it early on in February. So to achieve it was huge. We sat down and we figured out, hey, you know, we've got a shot at this. So we just laid our ears back and we tried it, and we were blessed enough to come out with a win.
Against a lot of good anglers.
No doubt.
Neal and I have been fishing together starting early high school years, wading the creeks. Started out fishing ponds, chasing crawdads, and that's where it all started. Then I kind of got my start in crappie fishing when I was a young kid with my dad and my uncle. From catching fish with a float and a minnow, and just a lot of good memories as a kid. And then Neal and I began fishing the creeks and the ponds, and then went on into crappie fishing. And we thought that the only place that you could catch a crappie was one little section of our home lake. We would both try to beat each other there to fish one brush pile. One tree is all we knew. And we would catch 5 or 6 fish and be tickled to death with that. And then we began to fish tournaments together, along with regular fishing, probably 2 or 3 weekends a month, and then it just kept growing from there into the competitive side as we started fishing several tournaments, local tournaments, and then got into the Crappie USA tournaments and some of the other bigger chains as well. We've been friends first, and then tournament partners second, and we fish a lot alike, and that really helps things go over smooth if usually we're thinking the same thing, so it's easy to adjust what the other one wants to do.
Cornfield Crappie Gear Live Sweep, Live Image Transducer Control. Deploys and stows with the trolling motor, now mounted on the Tarova trolling motor. Handheld key fob remote with wired pedals or upgrade to wireless pedals. Complete kit with everything to mount onto the Terova trolling motor at cornfieldcrappiegear.com.
The way we fished mainly was fishing with one pole, single poling, shooting docks. Most of the time it was one rod in our hand.
We primarily targeted black crappie. They tend to hold a little more to structure. We put a lot of time in looking for structure on different lakes. So again, we look for the black crappie that tend to suit our fishing styles better. So
we do a lot of prep work in the off season. He talked about marking brush or structure. I know on certain lakes that we spent as much as 90, almost 100 hours on the water looking at our graphs and idling. The poles we use, B&M's one of our sponsors, great products. I mean, they've been around forever. I love the 8-foot Rust Bailey, and something I use, a lot of people like a stiffer rod for the single poling, and a lot of these guys will fish straight down. A lot of times we'll pitch to the fish out in front of us just a little bit, and we like a little bit softer rod. Right now we're using a gliss line. It's kind of a smooth line, but it don't have any stretch, and use fluorocarbon leader. And what that does is allows those softer rods, when you set the hook, to make good contact with the fish. And where the line don't have any stretch, but your rod has some flex to it, you still got a soft enough tip in the Rust Bailey. And I also use the Gold Jig rod by B&M. Both of them great rods. And then when we shoot docks, a lot of times we'll use the 6-foot sharpshooter. Another thing is we'd really like to thank our sponsors. We got B&M Rods, Crappie Magnet, Safe House Ministries, and a few others that really help us get out on the water more with their help in products and sponsorships.
our preferred jig is definitely Crappie Magnet. We've been with Crappie Magnet for 8 years. We've been with them because they work, not necessarily just to have a sponsorship. We use them primarily all the time. We use different, we use a Crappie Magnet, use a slab magnet and a slab curly. We combine that with some slab bites. They just, in my opinion, they outperform any bait on the market.
Last year, every fish that we caught that we weighed in was on a Crappie Magnet bait. And like Neal said, it's not because, and there's plenty of other good baits out there, but from the strength of it to the way they work, and they have several different styles. You've got, we use the original Crappie Magnet when we're shooting docks or presenting it in a pitching type manner or dead sticking. And we'll also, if we're targeting whitefish, a lot of times we'll upsize to the slab magnets, which is a little bigger profile minnow type bait. And then in the spring or even in the fall, we hadn't used any today, but we use a slab curly, something they come out with right there. We'll swim that little bait right there using a little double cross jig head, but we'll swim that little curl tail. It's a shad shaped body with a curl tail, and a lot of long liners that troll. That's an awesome bait. That's an awesome bait for long lining, as well as casting too fish in the method that we use.
Best personality trait would stay humble. Always listen to other people. Keep an open ear. Never assume that you know everything about the sport, because you don't. We try to take something away from it every day we go. Just the little stuff, little details, but
And another thing to add to that is I always enjoy while you're out there, whether you're catching fish or not catching fish. Enjoy a turkey gobbling first thing in the morning, seeing an eagle, or the sunset, the sunrise, the fog over the water. They so much that we're blessed to see, and a lot of times it's right in your own backyard. Enjoy your time on the water and just out in nature itself.
The life scope thing, everybody's looking down, oh man, it hurts my neck. So then we started making mounts that you could adjust up, or taller mount. Now you got the mounts that are so big and they're taking up so much room on the front of the deck. We got the idea to build the one that lays down. So that's our newest safety feature. You know, you can get your mounts up tall where you can see them, but yet lay them down so you can see where you're going. We want to build the best quality mount in the USA that we can build.
This is a good Cherokee blackfish, black crappie, pound a quarter, something like that. It's B&M Russ Bailey, hound it well. Good fish right here. Typical what you catch on Cherokee.
It's a very tough field, Crappie USA. You very rarely do you go and just throw a dart and win it. You know, you've got to put your time in, you've got to make an investment. We fish a total of 6 tournaments. As Scott said earlier, you know, they take your best 5. Our first tournament was Lake Harding. We had never been there. We knew that it was a predominantly black crappie lake. We were fortunate enough to get that win this year, mid-February. That was Lake Harding, and that got us off to the races. You know, we were like, you know, maybe let's try to put something together here.
We went to Lake Weiss or Weiss, however, whatever area you're from, way you pronounce it, but we were able to put together a second place finish at Lake Weiss or Weiss. That's a lake that we'd been and fished probably 7 or 8 different years, maybe even more. We've always placed fairly well. We usually pull out a top 5 finish at that lake, so we had a lot that we had built on in years past, and we kind of put a game plan together and got to sit in the hot seat for a pretty good while, and then the Pentecost team wound up beating us that particular day, and with a good weight, so we were able to have a good finish down there.
Our third tournament, you know, this after Weiss, this is when COVID came. You know, it kind of jumbled up our schedule just a little bit. We had anticipated going to Lake Hartwell. That had been canceled. We had to wait till June for our third tournament. That was on Old Hickory. We had logged in several hours at Old Hickory. We had over right at 500 waypoints to fish. So, you know, we couldn't wait to get down there. Well, we get down there and we get a pretty good dose of humble pie. We finished 4th. We had much higher expectations, but you know, that's how it goes.
We thought we had a piece of humble pie at Old Hickory. We really got a piece of humble pie at Carlisle. We knew we had 5 that we were going to be our stronger suit. Placed well at Carlisle, we might have a cushion at one of the other 2 that we had left. So we make the run up to Carlisle, just had 1 day to pre-fish. We had a full day to pre-fish and hadn't spent any time on the water there at all. We caught tons of fish. It's just not the quality of fish that we needed to score. I think we were next to last that particular tournament in the pro division.
The next lake was Dale Hollow. Scott and I had never been on the lake. So we go down with the intentions. We went a week before. We did 2.5 days of pre-fishing. We really didn't have a good practice We couldn't find the fish that we wanted. We could catch some fish, but not the better ones. We knew that lake held some very big fish. So we came up with a game plan. We were going to fish structure. Fortunately, that time it was, I think it was in September. The water was still warm. Other anglers had trouble keeping their fish alive. They were bringing them from 30 feet. Scott and I were fortunate enough to catch some fish, around that 18, 20 foot range that we could keep alive. That's how it goes sometimes. You do your best and let the chips fall where they may. And fortunately, we came out with a win there.
The last tournament on the regular season circuit, we had looked at all the numbers and we knew where we had to finish compared to some of the other teams. I mean, it was down to crunch time. It was the last tournament of the season. And we went back a day or two before the tournament and go to looking at all these spots that we had logged. None of the right fish was on them. I mean, a lot of 3/4 pound fish, good eaters is what we call them, but just not the right fish. So we still fished structure, had to go to a different game plan for that particular weekend. Just the little things. I mean, it's a matter of finding fish that were elevated off the bottom. You could find some fish on the bottom that wasn't the right ones. The others had to be have a limb that come up 2 or 3 foot. That's just what the better fish was wanting. The first hour we had 1 fish. Second hour we had 2 fish. So I mean, all you have to have is your biggest 7. So it was a grind, and that's not our style of fishing. We like to go through numbers and be able to pick the bigger fish out. That wasn't the case on this one, but it was the right call. Awesome lake, a lot of fish caught, and a lot of great competitors down there. But that particular day we was able to come out with 3rd place and kind of secured the national points for us.
Cornfield Crappie Gear Live Sweep, Live Image Transducer Control. Deploys and stows with the trolling motor, now mounted on the Terova trolling motor. Handheld key fob remote with wired pedals or upgrade to wireless pedals. Complete kit with everything to mount onto the Terova trolling motor at cornfieldcrappiegear.com.
My love for fishing started way back when I was even preteen. I was raised fairly close to a creek. I learned to, we would wade the creek, get in the creek, catch smallmouth, red eyes with my brother. I've got many, many memories of, us two in the creek wading. As we got older, high school, we would venture out, we got boats. We started fishing Cherokee Lake, Douglas Lake. Those were our home lakes. My brother, he gave me a quote one time. He said, I'm afraid this isn't a phase I'm going through. You know what I'm saying? So, it's been with us for, I'm 49. I've fished for 40 years and it's just a love I have. Mm-hmm.
When I started out fishing, it was because I got to spend time with my dad and uncle, and it's good to go back to your roots and go back to taking a kid fishing or someone that hasn't fished and getting to watch them experience the same thing. You've got somebody that sees that float go down the first time or feel that bite the first time. You can see the joy on their face, and I think I enjoy it every time that fish pecks and you get to feel that thump. I enjoy it just about as much right now as I did 30 years ago. It's something that don't get any worse. It's something special.
Like I said, Scott and I, we've been friends since high school. We've both enjoyed the outdoors. We were outside, we were fishing already. We have a lot of the same fishing styles, I guess you'd say. Early on, we had a little John boat. We ran a lake, crappie fished early. We waded the creek. Just that kind of stuff.
I don't remember my first fish. I'm sure it was probably a bluegill, but my dad and uncle both done a lot of crappie fishing, and some of my best memories was while they would fish as a young kid. I'm saying 6, 7 years old, was going through my uncle's bass tackle box looking to see what plugs. Said, "You ever catch any on this?" and hold up a spinnerbait, or "Have you ever caught any on this?" and ask a lot more questions. And it was he could break that out and get another hour or two fishing out of me by occupying my time and keeping me busy. I can remember one time, and it's usually a story that they brought back up, is when I'd hooked a fence row and thought I had a big fish, and then they said I broke down in tears because I couldn't get the fish up. But that was just another memory that come to me reminiscing.
I do not remember my first fish. I do remember, I've got some very good memories early on. My brother, my dad on the creek, bluegill, smallmouth, red-eye fishing, just great memories, but no, I don't guess I remember my first fish.
Crappie is absolutely my favorite. I love everything about it. I think they just look like what a fish should look like. The thump is so distinctive. I mean, it's the peck or the thump that most crappie fishermen, especially single polers, really live for. It's that gives you that adrenaline. My uncle used to say it was up there with hearing the golf ball in the bottom of a cup. When they bite, they actually suck the bait in, and as they do it, that's when you actually feel them. It's just it ain't a pull, it's a thunk. It's a real distinct. If you ever catch a crappie, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. We were blessed enough to have a good 2020 season this past year, and look forward to competing against a lot of great teams. With a little bit of luck and hard work, hope to be up there toward the top again this year.
That about does it for this episode. We'll be back on the water next week with another episode of Crappie USA. Like and subscribe to our YouTube to see more episodes and stay updated on Crappie USA TV. This episode of Crappie USA TV is brought to you by Cornfield Crappie Gear. Visit them at cornfieldcrappiegear.com.